Welcome to the next edition of the Dodgers Prospects Podcast. I'm Casey Porter of Dodgers Daily, joined by Tim Rogers of Dodgers 2080, as I am each and every week. So, Tim, busy week. We have a busy show. Welcome in.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have a lot of guys to look at today, and I doubt we get through them all.
Yeah, and I promise you, there's too many really good relief pitchers at Great Lakes. We were talking about this last night, Tim. We will not hurry this. If we don't get through them, we're going to give these guys the respect that they deserve because they are so good, these relief pitchers at Great Lakes. So we are not going to hurry through them. We are not going to do any of that. So if we don't get through it, we'll just pick up next week where we left off this week, and then hopefully we'll get them and then into the Rancho guys. So, okay, Tim, like we did last week and the week before, I'm going to let you dive in.
Well, again, I go in alphabetical order. It starts with AA, Jeisson Acosta.
Yeah.
So I saw him a bit back in 2021. He closed. It seemed to kind of be the guy they were closing a bit with. And I did get pictures of him back in 2020 before I really knew much about him. And I still don't know a ton about him, but just looking at some of his videos. He is, in this number, he's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
But for a big guy, he's still kind of in the low 90s. You think, but that doesn't always correlate. So he's a big guy coming at you. From what I saw, the curveballs look like a really good out pitch for him. I didn't see much else from him. Looking through some highlights and stuff like that. How much have you seen of him?
Quite a bit. After he got put on the IL at the end of April. And check this out, Tim. Between his last appearance before getting injured on April 27th and his 15 appearances since he got back. I apologize. I've been under the weather. I'm going to do my best with my voice getting through this. So he had 15 appearances after he came off of the IL. He did not allow a run. And you would be very accurate when you said he's big. He's 6'4", 23 years old, out of Venezuela, 92-ish. But the thing about his fastball, Tim, is it has a lot of movement to it, a lot of late life. He is the master of inducing weak contact, which, yeah.
Does he keep with his fastball? Is he keeping it up in the zone?
Oh, I would say his effectiveness is moving away from the barrel, sideways movement, more like he throws that slider and then he has that good 84-mile-an-hour changeup type pitch. His slider can kind of cross over a little bit into a curveball type looking pitch, so he can get depth with that pitch. But I would say his greatest strength from what I saw last year, and of course, remember, he was coming off the IL, so I'm not exactly sure that we got all the velo that he's capable of. I don't know. I have a meeting set up with him to talk to him, but haven't been able to get around to send him, the whole setup for it. So I will ask him that question when I get a chance to talk to him, or maybe if you get a chance to talk to him. But he was in the 92-ish range, but really good movement on the fastball.
Yeah.
Moved the ball away from barrels and was super, super effective to the point to where he, like I said, when he got off the IL in early August, did not give up a run in his last 15 outings.
That's good. Good to hear. The next one I got, this guy that I saw in 2021 at Rancho, but didn't. He was TJ Acosta in 2022, and that's Franklin De La Paz.
Bases juice 2 outs.
Lefty, low three-quarters delivery. He's coming pretty low. Ball, and still not sidearm, but he's down low. 92, 93 fastball. Slider's nasty. He just look against lefties. I would hate to be in the box. Just kind of, go. If you do a little searching on YouTube, you can see some of the guys struggling to hit him left-handed. And some of these are like from 2019. He was fun to watch also. In 2021, him and Jose Hernandez were both there at the same time. That was pretty darn cool to watch. And I liked him a lot. It looks. Hopefully, he's coming around. He had Tommy John surgery, and hopefully that 2023 should be ready. I mean, he seemed to have it. I think it was in April. I was looking at getting the news through his Instagram with the pictures. So I like him. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see him.
I have not. I've seen him maybe once or twice. I probably could not, you know how we work, Tim. I don't like to give evaluations just looking at stat sheets. That just
Right.
There's no context to that. So
Right.
I have not. I'm just going to point blank say I have not seen him pitch
I wouldn't
a whole
expect
lot.
it,
You
yeah.
mentioned him coming off the Tommy John, and so I don't feel qualified enough really even to talk about him. And this next year when we do, certainly we'll cover him a little bit more. So I'm gonna refer that one back to you.
Yeah. Well, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't really spend much time at Great Lakes. I think you might get him up at Tulsa pretty quick.
Awesome. Back up a little bit. I think Ben Casparius has a chance to be a reliever too. Would you agree with that?
Okay. Yeah, I skipped Ben. I look at him as kind of a starter, but is it based on what was it? It's the slide piece, right?
Yeah, Casparius, he has 4 pitches, some ways 5. So that profile is definitely up because he's throwing 2 different types of cutters. So
Yeah.
if you're just saying he throws a cutter, that's 4 pitches. If you want to recognize he's throwing 2 different types of cutters, that would be 5 for him. Well, you got to see him a lot. I know you did a wonderful interview with him. On Dodgers 2080, if you want to go check that out. And I also had a chance to talk to him. Just a wonderful young man. He is. Just got through talking to Emmett Sheehan, who both came out of Connecticut as well. And the first question I asked Emmett was, "Hey, how big of a deal was Ben Casparius?" Because Ben was the Connecticut Player of the Year and went to North Carolina and got two-way player there at North Carolina, a really good player. Played with Michael Bush in the same lineup there at UNC. And he said, "Oh man, he was a huge deal. I don't think Ben knew who I was, but I definitely knew who he was because he is a big deal." But you got to see the explosive stuff with your own eyes. 93 to 95 four-seam, changeup 81 to 85 that is a plus pitch. 2 different types of cutters, slider that's mid-80s. So when I say relief, it's kind of like that Lyle Lockhart, Kyle Hurt type scenario to where you're a piggyback long inning guy, not necessarily having to be a starter. I know he came in that piggyback role quite a bit for Great Lakes and then with Tulsa. So, boy, I tell you what, and we talked about him right before he got moved up, and I think you got your interview with him, like 2 days before.
A day or two, yeah. I got lucky, man.
You did. It was a wonderful interview, too. He does a great job on those, doesn't he?
He does. He gets it. He understands that, he wants to be out there for the fans. That's for sure. So I appreciated him. He's just a very open guy. And I had a feeling he was going to be up there, get up there. So I interviewed on the same day.
Yeah.
Him, Damon Keith, and I don't know if we'll get to him, Ronan Kopp, all on the same day. Because I just thought, oh boy.
Yeah.
They're all going up soon.
You knew who to hit that day. Yeah, no doubt.
Been burned before. I got burned with Josiah Gray. He got promoted right before I was going to reach out to him a few years ago. So,
yeah, Ben Casparius has some of the best stuff of any pitcher in the organization. When he's landing it in the strike zone, it's going to be a bad day for the hitters. He is.
Yeah.
This guy is a super, super, super talented young man. If you haven't seen, you've seen it. Like I said, you've seen it with your own eyes. His stuff's explosive. I mean, it's like it explodes at the end of when it gets into the catcher's mitt, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the other thing about Ben, I saw him also at his worst. So his first appearance, he was terrible, and he'll admit it. But that dude was so good afterwards. He didn't let it cost. It inflated his statistics a bit. But even after it was like 1 inning, 5 runs. It was tough. That dude came back and had a great thing and earned his promotion to Great Lakes. I know, it's always, can be a struggle when you go up to that next level. Like you said, and I think we've said it for more than half these guys could land their pitches. The Dodgers are looking at the stuff. And they know that with some of these guys, it's really going to be the whole Darwinism thing, right? The survival of the fittest. Whoever lands their pitch is going to be the guys that move up. So
for the Dodgers,
for the Dodgers, yes.
Yeah, most of these guys we talk about, and they know, they're pitching or they take the field every time for all 30 clubs, not just the Dodgers. Exactly. And most of them actually, if they make the major leagues, will probably do it with a club that's not the Dodgers. Just all you got to do is just do simple math, right? There's 26 guys on a roster, and there's there's like 200 guys in the system, something like that. So I mean, it's crazy math. But Ben's a guy that that, the world's in his hands. He has the ability to be a long-time major league pitcher. His stuff is that good. I feel totally comfortable saying that. So very talented. I think you would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, next guy. I've got Carlos De Los Santos. Am I jumping anybody?
Nope, that's who I got too. So
You want to dive in? You want me to take a shot at it?
Well, talk about explosive.
Yes. Oh, wow. 97 on the fastball.
Yeah, and so when I'm usually watching the game, I'm in the dugout, so it's a side view, and so it's difficult to watch. Some of the other types of things you can see, if it's a breaking pitch and things like that. But it's tough to judge my MPH, and their radar gun is the worst. It's terrible.
Probably on purpose.
Yeah. It's like, Ronan Kopp's throwing 88. No, he's not. It's more like put a 9 instead of an 8 at the beginning. De Los Santos, you can see the explosive. You can just see it's coming fast. I mean, his mechanics and everything like that. He was really fun to watch. Like the rest, the command is a big issue, but his slider looks really good too. He truly has the makings to me of a lockdown. I'm not going to call it closer anymore. I'm going to call it stopper, because the Dodgers are trying to get away from the close thing.
Yeah, I call it high leverage relief, man.
High leverage. It's like Trinan used to be before he got hurt, and
Evan Phillips.
Evan Phillips is. But you got to be able to throw strikes to be that guy. And if you notice, Trinan and Evan Phillips, they don't walk a ton of guys, and so because they're coming in with guys on base, and now if fresh innings, a different story. It's like, well, if you walk one, it's not good, because you walk that first guy, I guarantee he's going to score. Yeah. But De Los Santos, there's so much there. Fun to watch. There's just certain pitchers, they bring the energy, and I don't know, he has a presence about him, and it's just explosive. I love watching.
Yeah, no doubt. You mentioned landing the ball in the strike zone. The big stuff, 97-mile-an-hour fastball with the big slider and changeup, so the 3-pitch mix that the Dodgers and most clubs nowadays love out of high-leverage guys coming out of relief. Okay, 32 walks in 44.1 innings. That kind of goes to what you're talking about. Hey, it doesn't matter if it's 97 or 107. Yeah. It's got to be in the strike zone, and that's something that I know they're working really hard with Carlos with. And here's the deal with him. He's only 22, right?
Yeah.
Those international guys, that's why the Dodgers love these international guys, because you can get them when they're like Julio Urias. It seemed like he was in the system for like 50 years before he actually made the major leagues. Yeah, so he could barely even drive to his first professional start, right?
Yeah.
So De Los Santos, he has plenty of time, being 22 years old, to refine everything, to get the ball back in the strike zone. And as the year went on, he did a little bit better job with that. So a fun guy to watch. I think your comp, a right-handed type Jose Hernandez looking type pitcher, I think that's a very good comp you made with that type of explosive stuff. Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, exciting guy, and we'll see if he can improve the strike zone, hitting the strike zone a little bit more, and I think he definitely will.
Yep.
Next guy?
Well, I'll go next. Saw him at Rancho. He got promoted to Great Lakes. Ronaldo De Paula. He's a little bit older, so he's a late bloomer. I think he was signed in 2016. I didn't write everything down, but I think that was what I saw. He was really good at Rancho. From what I saw, the walk percentage is really good, which is different than a lot of these guys. So, and then he still had one more. I have a misprint in there. I said he has a good BB percentage with more than one walk per inning. Nope, one more K per inning. Tim confused. Again, like a lot of these guys, fastball, slider. Again, from the side, there might have been a change in there. Sometimes it's tough to see see a difference between a slider and a change from the side. Did you get any chances to see him at all? Okay, good.
Not with not in person, but on video. And the thing that really sticks out about him, if you want to go to either Dodgers 2080 or the especially my Twitter or Instagram feed, either one of ours.
Yeah, yours.
I've got a lot of video on him, and watch the slider. Holy smokes, that slider is just, I mean, it's devastating. And he likes to use that four seam up in the zone, and he kind of, he's kind of have those long legs, so he gives you just, he's uncomfortable as a hitter, kind of a knees and elbow type deal, and he's not afraid to buzz the right-handers up and in and ride that thing with a little bit of arm side movement to it, and kind of that ride and run like Emmett Sheehan gets. So he kind of gets a little bit of a right turn with his four seam up in the zone. Then he gets that wicked left turn from his slider. And I'll tell you what, towards the end of the year, Ronaldo De Paula for Rancho was virtually unhittable. I mean, he went several outings. As a matter of fact, he didn't give up a run in like 4 or 5 outings in a row, had 7 Ks during that stretch, and just pitched really, really well as the year went on, which, that's not something that's surprising. Duran Olinger had a chance to talk to him. I'm going to release his interview this week, pitching coach for Rancho. Very high on these young men and did great work with these guys. So very, very excited about Ronaldo De Paula. I think if you had to give a comp, which I like comps because I think it gives people kind of an idea of what you're looking at, Evan Phillips' type. I think he has that type of slider type stuff.
Yeah.
With the fastball that rides in a little bit. So just from a stuff perspective, maybe that's kind of who I see whenever he pitches. So very, very talented young man.
The next guy I have on my list is a little bit taller than Ronaldo, and he's a starter right now. But I love him as a possible reliever someday, and that's Carlos Duran.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, with the Rule 5 and everything. He is out for 2023 with Tommy John surgery, and we did talk about him quite a bit still. The slider is just nasty. High 90s fastball. I look at him this way. So the command is going to be the issue, of course, and it's a real issue with him. But you just Google him and find him. You talk about a big man coming in. I just imagine a 6'7" guy like this guy. He's coming at you with a hard slider fastball, 3/4 delivery, coming in close, and he's only 21. I think, man, he's got. The thing is, he's such a nice guy. It's tough to think of him being mean on the mound, but he can get a little bit of ornery in him. It might be good because he's sitting there before starts. He's signing autographs, hanging out with the fans and all that stuff. He's a very different guy. A lot of starters will go into their little, don't talk to me. It's
sure.
I'm
getting their Zen zone. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, just like, oh, you're starting today. Okay, well, I couldn't tell by the way you're behaving, and it was cool. I mean, it's just the way he is. He's a very playful guy. I hung out with him a little bit at spring training. He was even hurt then. It wasn't Tommy John yet, but he started the season injured. I can't remember when he started. Like more like June or July.
July.
Yeah.
No, June 16th. June 16th is the first post I have on him. So I'm going to say June 16th is when he made it back.
Okay. Yeah.
Mid-June.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's tough. So 6'7" is one of those heights where you're getting almost too tall for some pitchers. I know that becomes an all arms and legs thing, but even looking at him, he's just a big man coming at you, and it's not purely just arms and legs. It's a big guy coming at you, but I don't know. He might be. He's not. He's not Brandon McCarthy. When he was with the Dodgers, he was 6'7", about 190. Duran won't be that way. He's not overweight at all, but I think he might be just. He's not going to be thin either. So maybe those mechanics of those tall, lanky guys, he doesn't have those issues. But the command, hello, we're there. Yeah, I'm sure you got plenty of eyes on him too.
Yeah, 94 to 96 on the fastball. And, there's a lot of max effort to the fastball. I mean, he maxes out a lot. So I do think in time, especially with, I talked last week how a lot of times injured guys, they profile better as a starter because they get into routine. I think Carlos Duran probably is going to be the opposite of that, being the tall guy. Of course, this is all projection. Absolutely. And the Dodgers have their own way. So it could go any which way, but this is just our opinion, right? That's what we're supposed to give on this show. So being 6'7", He has the fastball that's 94 to 96, and if you watch him, there is some max effort to that. I mean, some guys can, like Emmett Sheehan, can release a ball 97 miles an hour, and it doesn't even look like he's trying. When you watch Duran, there's a lot of max effort to his fastball in that 94 to 96. So even if he goes to the pin, I could see it maybe tick up to a sitting a 95, 96 or a 97 maybe.
Yeah,
I don't see it ticking up much more than that. But he does have the just really good 88-mile-an-hour changeup. And then the big, I don't want to call it necessarily a slider or a changeup, because I just call it a breaking ball, because I tell you what, it is. I mean, there's depth to it. There's big-time depth to it. He likes to use the top of the zone, how most pitchers do. And then what's really cool about him is his tempo and timing. If you watch him, he'll hesitate in his windup and his stretch, and he'll really throw like in midstream. He'll be coming to, he'll be coming set, and then he'll get into his balance point, and then as he's coming home, he'll stop again, and then the hitter their timing is really off. So he has several different timings and tempos that are really cool to watch. I do think Carlos Duran would be a perfect, say, 2-3 inning guy, middle inning guy, where he can throw those 3 pitches and come out and be, because if you look at most of his performances this year, he started most of them early on, but they were like 2 or 3 innings long. Of course, that was because he was coming off of the injuries list, and those performances where he only went 2 or 3, he was able to max out and get up to 94, 95, and then sometimes 96. That's when he was the most effective.
Yeah, and I think also I think there is some growth to be done muscle wise. I think there's going to be more because he's still young. I mean, when I saw him, he's probably still 20 at spring training, and there's more. More body growth to be done, and so he's just probably getting that man strength time.
The good thing about him is that he played a lot of showcase baseball, and he's 21 years old.
Yeah,
he is 6'7", 230 in the States. So he was very comfortable with playing in the States. So that adjustment period wasn't quite as long for him. And I know he was a huge prospect coming. If you would have looked this time last year, he was one of the bigger. Him, and then also Hyun-Il Choi, who was hurt all last year, were 2 huge prospects. And then Robinson Ortiz, who was hurt all last year as well, a guy that we didn't get to see this year, the guy with the big wicked slider. So Carlos Duran, okay, he's not going to pitch this next year, so we're going to have to wait for that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though, because he's still only 21 years old. He's another one of those guys that we're talking about. Although it seems like he's been around for a while, still only 21 years old, so still plenty of time for him.
Yep, getting stronger.
Cole Duensing?
I didn't cover him.
Yep, Cole Duensing out of the Kansas City area. Cool story on him. Check this out. He was with the Angels in 2021, He gets cut, gets released. He goes and plays indie ball in the Kansas City area with the Monarchs, okay? They just rebranded the Monarchs. Their independent ball team in Kansas City did. I believe as a tribute to the old Kansas City Monarchs of the
Satchel Paige's team.
Yeah, Satchel Paige's team. Okay, so a month later, he gets cut by the indie ball team. Okay?
Oh, man.
So he's like, well, maybe my baseball career is over. Well, then the Royals invite him out to Arizona to go throw for them, a couple of bullpens. He goes out there, he throws really well. He's like, oh, man, I threw well. I'm going to, he grew up a Royals fan, being in the Kansas City area, and then they don't offer. So he's like, well, okay, I guess my baseball career is over, right? And so he's like, well, I'm going to go get a real job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Then he gets an offer to go to Florida, like one last-ditch effort. Okay, he leaves the airport in Kansas City in a hailstorm, all right? He gets to Dallas. His flight gets canceled, okay? So he's got to figure out a different flight. Gets to Florida, sleeps on the floor of one of his buddies, gets up the next day and throws like the best live bullpen session of his life. And the Dodgers signed him to a 2-year contract. So he had last year and this year, which was really cool for him because that gave him, the ability to kind of grow a little bit last year, not worry about having to be back for 2023. So he will be back this year. He's got the 4-seam that's 91. Another thing about him that's really cool, if you go look at his Twitter, okay, one of the things that got him noticed while he was, after he got cut by the indie ball team, he started posting all of his bullpens with all of the StatCast data on it. Hey,
Smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Dodgers noticed that, so that's why they invited him to Florida and gave him that look. 91 to 94 in the four-seam changeup and a cutter. He's learned how to throw his cutter for strikes and a slider, so has a chance to be a four-pitch pitcher. If you look at his windup and how tall he is, his windup and his mechanics look just like Goose Gossage. Kind of fun to watch for me when I see just his mechanical setup. I see Goose Gossage in it. I'm not saying he's going to be Goose Gossage.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Okay, 3.68 WHIP. He had a 1.34 strikeout to walk ratio. He had 48 strikeouts to 15 walks. And like I said, so pretty cool story with Cole Duensing, and a very talented young man, and a young man that is I got a chance to talk to him just about a month after the season was over. Very, very, very motivated young man. So I'll be very excited to watch Cole Duensing in 2023. Hopefully get to see him in Tulsa.
And he was at Great Lakes the whole year?
Yeah. Okay. Yep, he sure was.
Okay. Next I have is Braden Fisher.
Yeah, me too. We both talked to Braden. Great family.
Yeah, the first time I met Braden, I called him Jimmy Lewis. They look so much alike. I go, hey, are you Jimmy Lewis? He goes, no, Braden Fisher. Oh, sorry, man. And I probably almost did a couple times. They are clones, and they even look a little similar on the mound at a distance. Like, fortunately, they have names on the back of their jerseys. But he's he can't drafted in the 4th round 2018, so a lot of expectations about him, and he was hurt. He just and he missed. He had some time in 2018, and 2019. I don't think he got to play hardly at all. 2020, obviously. Then he started coming along in 2021. Had a little bit of difficulty coming back, but it was like I haven't pitched in a competitive game in 3 years or something like that. But he got better, and then he started the season again at Rancho, and was really good. It was great to see. He earned his promotion to Great Lakes. He just numbers wise, he's not. It doesn't look like he's throwing that hard. I never caught a velocity.
93, 95.
Okay. Yeah.
With some adrenaline, he can hit 96, 97.
Okay.
Touch it. He's going to sit 93 to 95.
Okay. Yeah, the Rancho gun is as good as my calculator.
Yeah. I think that's probably on purpose. They don't want those young guys to be throwing to the radar gun. Yeah,
I know. But I had, not throwing that hard, but he missed a lot of bats.
Yeah.
52.2 innings, only 35 hits. And then still 72 Ks. And so, looking at his breaking ball, Baseball America called it slurvy. And then it looks, in fact, I went to Casey's site out there and found some stuff on him. It sounds like he's redone his curveball now. And so now he has a slider and a curve, and is working on a cutter, it sounds like.
Newly developed cutter. And kind of an interesting story about him. Last year in spring training, he was trying to add some depth to his slider.
Yeah.
And so they were telling him, well, just throw it like a curveball. Okay? If you want to add depth to your slider, then just practice throwing it like a curveball. Well, so he did that for like 6 or 7 days, Tim. And next thing you know, he has a curveball. So now he has a slider and a curveball.
Yeah.
And now he's working on the cutter, which is just a grip thing. So, he's got the slider that has the lateral and horizontal depth to it. Then he's got the curveball that has the depth to it. And now he's got the cutter that just kind of has the lateral move away from the barrel type movement to it. And then a lot of extension. He's 6'4", but really long arms, really long legs.
Definitely.
So although it's 93, 95, the reason why you're seeing hitters struggle with it is because it's like he's just handing the ball off to the catcher.
Yeah.
Because he's so long and his extension is so good. He's the second most famous baseball player ever out of League City, Texas, at least. The number, you know who the most famous League City, Texas baseballer is?
No idea.
No clue?
No.
Jay Buhner. Jay Buhner, remember that name? Yeah. Yeah, so got a chance.
The former quote Yankee legend.
Yeah.
Good job, Steinbrenner.
Yeah. So, okay. Like I said, very, very talented. He's fought injury.
Yeah.
20. Here's another one, too. He was signed out of high school. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, only 22 years old. So it seems another one of those kids that seems like young man. Seems like he's been around forever, right, Tim? I mean, it seems like you've been covering Braden Fisher forever, but only 22 years old, right? So lots and lots of time and very, very, very talented.
Yeah, and we'll be covering, next week or the week after, Jimmy Lewis probably a little bit too. It's kind of the same thing. They just kind of, they get drafted, they play a little bit, and then they vanished. And, they're highly touted and all that. But, Braden, talk about just a polite guy. He's the one that calls you sir and all that stuff. So he was raised right. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah. One thing that sticks out about him too, you talk about the closer and they kind of had like Cole Percival and him and then when Aldry came back, they kind of rotated who got the last 3 outs, if you will. He does his best work when things are at its worst. Just go back and look at his performances last year, and he would get like a guy at third base with no outs and then strike 3 guys in a row out and save the game. I mean, he was absolutely 100% clutch. He does his best work in the clutch moments. So that's something I really like about Braden Fisher.
Yeah. Well, we love that guy. All right. Next guy I got on my list is a guy I saw have an awful outing and then go and just decide to strike out everybody. That is the left-hander, Ben Harris. And I want to quote. So I found have you ever interviewed him? I've never interviewed him.
I don't even know. I've wanted to. I'm probably going to wait till he hits Tulsa.
Yeah, he will soon. Yeah. But so from Fangraphs, they had a nice little chat with it. I just want to spend a couple seconds here quoting from his things. He goes, I don't throw super hard, and it said Harris, whose heater sits 92 to 94 and tops out at 95, and his repertoire currently comprises of 90% or 70% fastballs and 30% sliders. Mm-hmm. And he says, luckily, there's something with the way I throw. And this is key.
Deception.
It's a little bit tucked behind before when he throws it behind my head, so it's a little more hidden than normal. And he says he's never faced off against myself, but it's what I've been told. I believe the effectiveness comes from a combination of a few different metrics as well. Mm-hmm. But
those metrics would be natural cutter.
Yeah. Well, he's a lefty. I mean, except it's cutting the other way. Let's see. And so. Yeah, he the first time I saw him, he did give up like 4 runs in like less than an inning, and then they're like, but he was a lot of these guys that we mentioned and have mentioned last week are from 2021 draft, and he's another one. This draft is going to be just for pitching, because they drafted all pitchers except Damon. But Ben just came out and just really he was almost at 2 batters per inning. And so that translates. And you look at it, you watch him, you go, okay, there doesn't, he's just a normal guy and not that big or anything like that. And he's kind of in the background type guy. Yeah. He shows up in the background of a ton of my pictures. It's just kind of interesting. But yeah, then he came in and he just dominated. And yeah, there's something to keep, keeping that ball away, so the hitter can't see it as long as possible. So it's just that being able to hide it behind you and even as you come up or whatever, they can't see that. It makes a difference, and obviously it makes a difference with him. But he's not the only one. I mean, there's plenty of major league pitchers out there that get away with hiding stuff. I mean, even if you look at Kershaw bid, I mean, with his weird mechanics from a stretch and even that little hitch that he has, and he seems to hide the ball well. Or Bumgarner hides the ball well, coming away from behind. It's an effective way to get guys out, and those guys have had pretty darn good careers. So Ben Harris, here we go.
Yep. I mean, 107 strikeouts in 55.2 innings, 90 to 93 on the fastball. It has that natural cut to it into righties. Yeah. And then the slider. Okay, check this out. He finished the season, Tim, with 18 scoreless outings in a row. 18 scoreless outings in a row before he gave up 1 run in his last outing on September 10th. Yeah. 18 in a row. He was dominant. He was a position player coming into college at Virginia. So he played a position, lightly used, transferred to Georgia, so the pitching thing is still relatively new to him. Yeah. And so, you know, the arm hasn't been overused. So I'm excited to get a chance to see Ben Harris next year. Obviously went on a run that was just remarkable. There was probably a period of about 2 months where he was the best pitcher in all the minor leagues. And that's not an exaggeration. That's really not. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for Gavin Stone, just being just amazing with his pitching this year, he might have been the pitcher, pitcher of the year for the organization. And people would be like, who's Ben Harris?
Yeah.
Dodgers know how to find these guys.
Yep, no doubt. Hey, we've got about 2 minutes left. It's gone way too fast. We got about halfway through our list of Great Lakes. We pretty much knew this was going to happen. We will finish our Great Lakes session in our next show. We still have Michael Hobbs, Antonio Knowles, Ronan Kopp, Robbie Pito, Julian Smith, Ryan Sublette, River Ryan, Yohan Valdez, and Adolfo Ramirez to get to. So we'll get to all those guys in the next show. Tim, final thoughts?
It is an embarrassment of riches. I mean, let's be honest. I got a chance to see some of these guys. I think one of the things I want to do better with this coming year is get some more video, especially from behind. I'll be working towards that a bit this year because I think it is invaluable to see. The side view is interesting and it's great for pictures, but for really getting down and dirty and being able to see these guys a bit, getting from behind the catcher will be good. But yeah, just such an impressive list. And Casey just named off all these guys, and I spent a long time working on this. Yeah. More than usual. I'm glad we decided to go split it in half. But there's we got to give these guys justice. So really great to cover these guys.
Hey, fans, just a reminder, check out DodgersDaily.net and Dodgers 2080, both of our sites, for more content on the Dodgers prospects. And also, if you would, leave a comment, like this video, share this video so Dodgers Prospects Podcast can continue growing and Tim and I can continue to provide you content like this in the future. Hey, as always, thanks for tuning in and go Dodgers.